Hey everyone, Sarah Elizabeth LaHood here, and today we're talking about sales pages, but probably not in the same way that you're used to talking about them. Little known fact among beginning entrepreneurs is that you actually can create a sales page pretty easily on the website that you already have. Ah, good news, right? No more spending all that money on expensive software. Now, you can still spend money on expensive software, such as Leadpages, ConvertKit, and all these other places that do sales pages pre-designed and really lovely for you, but you don't necessarily need to. And in the beginning, we really want to focus on the things that are going to get you going, and you can add in all those bells and whistles as you move along. We really want to focus on the kind of most important goals right now, and I'm going to go ahead and argue that the most important goal is probably not the most beautifully designed sales page, but a sales page that will actually entice your ideal clients and help you book them. So today we're going to be talking about how to build a free sales page using just your website that you already have. Okay, so we're here on my website, sarahelizabethlahood.com, and we're going to go ahead and make a sales page. Now, you can find some examples of how I've done this on my own website if you go to services and you click on any of my programs. So all of these are just sales pages that I created. So you can go into Creative Biz for Real and you can see what my sales page looks like. This sales page was designed on my website using completely free software. There's nothing on this page that cost me any moolah besides my theme design as I already have it. And I actually designed my theme myself. So it was totally free for me, okay? So if you've got a website, we can do this. Now, I'm going to be doing this in WordPress because that's how I run my website. You can do this, though, in any web server or host that you're using, okay? So some examples of those might be WordPress, WordPress.com, Squarespace, Wix, Weebly, any of those things. You can all do this in there. Know, though, that it'll be a little bit different depending on where you go, okay? And in some of those hosts that I mentioned, you won't have as much power to change stuff, okay? So WordPress is an open source CMS, which means I really can do anything I want with it if I know what I'm doing, which means it's really, really powerful. But in something like Wix, you're a little more limited, okay? So don't get too hung up on the specifics of what I'm doing. Just know that as long as there are elements there, certain elements that we will talk about, the rest of it doesn't really matter too much. Again, really, we're going for functionality more over actually making it too beautiful, because really in the beginning, we just want to make sure that it works. You don't want it to be hideous, okay? So make sure you've got some pretty colors up there. But as long as you're pretty okay with the design, don't worry too much about the nicks and knacks of it all, okay? So if you're in WordPress or, wherever you are, you're just going to create a new page. Nice and simple. How beautiful is that? Now, again, there's a couple of particularly key elements in this process, okay? So the first element is obviously the stuff that's on the page, but there's certain kind of tweaks and stuff to the page itself, i.e. the formatting and the technology behind it, that I want you to do as well. So we're going to go over those first, okay? So the first thing is I'm going to put in a test sales page title. Okay, so you do want to make sure your title is actually a little bit better than that really gross one that I just came up with, but this is mostly so I don't accidentally publish this and you guys can go book, test sales page, the package, when I'm done with this video. Okay, so the first thing that you want to make sure is you want to make sure your sales page is full width. So important, meaning you want it so that it takes up as much space on the screen as you possibly can. That's not really to be like spammy or weird. It's actually because all that stuff like sidebars and, the menu links at the top and all that stuff, that can be actually very distracting when what you're really doing on this page is telling people about your program. If people are clicking to this page, they probably don't care about all that other stuff on your website just now. They're interested in hearing about your program or your product, and they're not really interested in hearing anything else. So we don't need those other distractions there. Okay, so if you're in WordPress, it's going to look slightly different than mine because I do use an Elegant Themes theme called Divi. So I have this weird little thing here, okay? But if you're using just regular WordPress, it's going to be around here and it's going to look like this sort of white box, okay? But you're basically just going to try to find the place that says page layout and make it full width. Again, if you're using a different CMS or host, it's going to look different, but do what you can to make it full width. Google it. Reach out to me if you want to, whatever you got to do to figure out how to make that page full width. We want it to be full width so we're not leaving any distractions on the page, okay? Now, the second thing you want to do is you want to make sure that this page is showing up exactly where you want it to, okay? And there's a couple ways to do this. The first is to consider how it's going to show up on your website. So as you can see, Oh, I didn't do it as a new tab. Let's fix that, okay? So as you can see on my website, okay, I actually have a menu up here at the top, okay? So think about it. Do you want your sales page to be one of these menus? Okay, so I could easily have it say, services actually be a link to the sales page, right? I don't because I have a couple of programs, but you could easily have it do that. So make sure you think about where you want it to show up on your own website and make sure you link it accordingly. Okay, so if you want it to be in your menu, make sure you make that happen. If you want it to be, so on my blog, I have a little sidebar here on the side. If it ever loads, there we go. So if I wanted it to be in the side, I could do that as well. Okay, so consider where you want it to be. The second thing is consider how and where you want it to show up in search engines, okay? So there's a concept called SEO or search engine optimization. And there's lots of plugins and techniques and strategies and stuff that we can use for this. But remember, if you want it to show up in search engines, make sure you're writing it so that you're using your keywords a lot. You're using words that you know people will be searching for in the sales page itself. But if you don't want it indexed by search engines for some reason, and sometimes that's the case, there's a little tweak that you can do to make sure that it doesn't pop up in Google, okay? So in your SEO plugin, so I use Yoast. Other examples for WordPress are All-in-One SEO, Yoast. I can't think of any more, but I'm sure there's dozens of them, okay? But if you don't want it to be easily found by Google because you want to make sure you're driving the traffic and not people randomly stumbling across it, this might be really powerful if you're doing something like launch and you only are open for a certain amount of time. But if you go ahead and click no index, okay, that basically puts a meta tag, so an overarching tag on your whole page, meaning that Google doesn't need to index this. This is used for private pages. So if you've ever wondered about how to make your page private, this is how you do it. So go ahead and do that or don't do that. I'm not going to do that because I want people to find my website. I want them to know my amazing test sales page offer, okay? But remember, it's just if you don't want people to be able to find it via Google, you want to control how people are finding it, okay? So those are all the techie elements that you might have. So the second part of this, obviously, is what elements need to be on your sales page and how do you get them there? So the first element that you want on your sales page is obviously some information, okay? So you're gonna have your information here. Remember, important information to have is going to be the cost, what they get, and what happens when they click the button buy now, okay? The cost, what they get, and what happens when they click the button. There's reasons for these, okay? So if your ideal client is not uber familiar with the online world and all this kind of stuff, and for a lot of you that's going to be the case, it means that they may not necessarily understand what happens when they press that button. Some people set up their websites that when you press a button, it just sends you a free download. Some people set it up when you press a button, it like goes through PayPal or it goes through e-commerce or it goes to Etsy or it goes to this, that, and the other place, okay? So make sure you're making it super clear and specific what happens when someone clicks the buy now button so they know what to expect. Okay, so make it be like, click the buy now button, you'll be taken to PayPal where you'll make your payment and then you'll receive a receipt in your email. Make it very simple and very specifically clear, okay? What they get, that's sort of like just like what literally are you going to hand to them for their money? Again, be very clear. There's no need to dance around this. There's no need to like add stuff. There's no need to like be like, oh my gosh, I'm asking for so much money. I need to give this. Don't overcrowd yourself or your client. Just make it very clear. Lay down the law. Say, this is what I'm offering. This is what it costs. And this is what you'll get. So what they get might be something like, one-on-one coaching calls for 10 weeks plus 200 recipes in your own cookbook plus an hour-long follow-up call 2 months later with me. Or it could be, you'll get 12 modules delivered weekly by email plus 3 bonuses and, a book in the mail of all your documents or something like that, okay? So just be very clear. Again, it's not about overselling yourself. It's not about making up for stuff. There's no tricks here, okay? I'm not teaching you to like, play the mind games or the emotional games or anything like that. Just literally say what it is, okay? Be honest and say what it is, okay? What they get. And then the cost. There's definitely different fields of thought here about whether you should include the cost on your sales page. Now, I do, but I've also not done it in my life. And it just depends on my goals. So sometimes you might not include your cost if you're trying to make sure that you're really helping people make the decision based on what you think is best for them or what they think is best for them without getting money involved, because sometimes money is a very emotional conversation. So if you're working with people who are probably a little bit, concerned about money, or, there's a little bit of a money conversation that needs to go there, you might consider whether the cost needs to be there and how it should be there. Again, never lie. Don't try to trick people. This is not about manipulating sales, okay? But it's about really offering the support and the information that people need in order to make the right decision. Okay, that means usually the cost needs to be there, okay? But again, there is some school of thought that sometimes not having it there opens up the conversation. Another reason you mightn't have the cost there is if you change your cost depending on what people book. So if you're something like a designer, or if you offer sort of like VA services or some sort of like purely service-based, I'm doing this for you sort of business, you might change your price depending on what people actually need you to do. Okay, so even in that case though, you can include the cost. You can say packages starting at $2,000 or packages starting at 5 weeks for 10 grand, or I don't know, that's actually really high, but who knows? I'm sure people pay that, okay? So make sure that you're being very, very clear again and very specific. Let people know what they need to know in order to book you. When people get to your sales page, they are either going to pay now or they're going to just leave. There's no other option on this sales page, okay? So you don't need to dance around the issues. You don't need to pretend you're something that you're not, and you don't need to lie or set weird expectations. Be super honest, be super clear, and know that anyone on this page is severely interested in what you're offering. They just need a little bit more information, so you're just providing it for them. A sales page is an awesome opportunity to be an awesome supporter for people. It's basically like having a sales conversation or even a coaching conversation on a page itself. Okay, so remember to give all the information and to provide as much support as you possibly can. But of course, you've got all this information. That's really awesome. But what happens when they click buy now and you don't have a buy now button? Nothing happens. Okay, so we need that buy now button. Again, you can still do this for free. So I have a very special tutorial on my YouTube channel that you can find that goes over specifically how to create this button. Basically, what you can do is you're going to create an image in Canva that says buy now on it, and you're going to put it on this page like a button, and you're going to link it. And that's going to lead straight to your PayPal account. Again, this is if you're using PayPal and Canva and all those other great resources. It's not the only way to do this, but it is the fastest and the easiest and the freest way to do this. Okay, so go ahead and find that tutorial for yourself. But again, it's very simple. You're simply going to put that image in here like it's a real button, and you're going to link it up. But make sure you have that here. So let's, just so we don't forget, button, super important. So now you have everything you need, and I swear, making a free sales page is still powerful. As you can see, I've got 3 of them on my website, and I'm like super psyched about it. Like I'm nearly booked out, and it's just awesome. And I haven't spent a dime building these sales pages. It is totally possible no matter what stage of business you're in. You do not need complicated softwares. All you need is to know what you need and then to go find the technology that'll help you do it. So I hope this tutorial was helpful. Leave your comments and let me know, and I'll see you guys all very, very soon. Mwah!